Are you an agent struggling to understand real estate economics? Would you benefit from learning how top agents structure their businesses? Then you've come to the right place. And welcome to another edition of the Nerdy Agent Podcast Business Tip of the Week.
Business tip.
Business Tip of the Week.
Halloween edition.
On today's Halloween special Business Tip of the Week, we're going to talk about what to do when your buyers get spooked during the inspection period.
That's a good lead-in, Luke. Do our buyers get spooked sometimes? Like, do we find scary stuff at our inspections?
100% it happens.
Yeah.
Foundation issues, roof leaks.
Puns are great. I think the key here is they sometimes will get spooked during the inspection. Oftentimes when that happens, I tend to think it was my fault because I didn't prepare them and give them the right expectations for the inspection. Because when I normally do that, they don't get as spooked, if you will.
Yeah, so I think preparation on the front end in terms of preparing them for that day, right? When I first started, that was one of the biggest things I learned was the inspection is going to be a scary day because someone walks around and they're like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And so we tell them, this is the worst day of the process. You're going to be told that your dream house has got all of these things that are wrong with it, but I'm going to take that back for you and I'm going to tell you what's actually a big deal and what's not as significant of a deal. And even before that, going through a showing, we talk about this all the time too, right? Pointing out big ticket things is really important too. So if you're setting really good expectations along the way, you're going to do a much better job of minimizing the amount of stuff and the amount of fear that's going to come out of an inspection.
It's kind of like if your 6 or 7-year-old child wants to go out trick-or-treating on Halloween and they go, what are we going to do tonight, Dad? And you say, well, we have to set a plan before we go out. We have to figure out which houses we're going to hit.
Yep.
We have to tell them and set the expectation. We're only going to be out there for an hour and a half, or else they might be crying when you tell them it's time to go home.
Do they have a full-size candy bar or not? Because that will matter. If
we're gonna need to know. We gotta set the expectations up front.
If I'm hearing you guys right, it sounds like rather than the ghost saying "boo," you'd rather just walks up slowly to you so you can see it coming.
And you tell them the ghost might say "boo."
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, and things like foundation problems, right? Like that is the kind of thing that we should be pointing out during our showings to minimize it. Now, not every agent knows everything there is to know about a house, so we should also probably talk a little bit about. If you get to the point, because everyone will have this, even if the best agents on the showing side, what will you do in that moment to try to minimize the amount of pain that comes after the fact if you're in a bad inspection?
Most problems in inspections can be solved and the transaction can move forward if everyone is reasonable.
And agrees. And I think getting to that point, though, too, the important thing to know is that you need to have people in your corner that you can call on. I think the number one person, debatably, that we have is a structural engineer. Because that's one of the biggest things. It's like you get to the inspection, you miss something, something comes up, all of a sudden the inspector says this wall is bowing. And that's a big deal. But you initially, right when he says it, you go, great, I have a structural engineer. We can call him. He can come out in a couple days. He can do the full 1 hour look at the house. And he can tell us if this is a big issue, if we shouldn't be concerned about it.
Yep. And knowing how much things cost too is really important. So we go over that with our team all the time. Like if you have this issue, it's going to cost this much. If you have this issue, it's going to cost this much. Because if you go through the inspection, what I do actually when I get an inspection report back is go through the full inspection report, send them an overview of every single thing that's on there, outlining biggest deal to smallest deal. Like I break it out into different categories of need to fix this now or ask for this. Take a look at this, fix this yourself, right? All these different things. So a smoke detector might cost $20 to put a new smoke detector in. You could fix that yourself now, but you're not asking for that. But if there's bigger ticket stuff, say, hey, this is a problem with the grading outside based on how this concrete slab was poured to pour a new one here, or mud jack this, it's going to cost X number of thousands of dollars. You can send your clients that on the front end and have them review that because that's going to make the whole inspection report feel much more tangible in terms of what they're going to have to do to make the house feel perfect to them again. And it makes it easier to negotiate with the sellers and seem reasonable because you're saying, here are my issues, here's how much each one of them costs, here's what we're asking for.
It's fantastic.
And that's all we have today for the business tip of the week. Remember, Halloween is scary, inspections are scary, but you don't always have to get spooked.
Ooh.